it was not sexual in the least. And I think it was like 5 links, 5 little sausage. And I'm like, you know what?
Let's give it loud everybody for Anthony Eugenio. We're having next time. Very funny. Wayne Russell, everybody.
Welcome to the Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne podcast.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to an Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne. We're here with a special guest edition, and this time we're playing outside of our ballpark of skill, meaning we are playing T-ball, and we're bringing in a major leaguer here to help us out because we need all the advice we can get. Please, everybody, welcome Tooky Kavanagh. How you doing?
Hi, major. My goodness.
Oh, compared to us, don't take it too much of a compliment. You got to know how far down we are.
Oh, I'm sure it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Oh, we're so pumped to have you. But as always, I have to introduce I don't know, I can't think of worse than T-ball, Wayne. I'm sorry, but I would shit on you if I could. My co-host, Wayne Russell.
I'm doing pretty good. Little vocally challenged today, but I'll get by.
Yeah, today. That's the key word, vocally challenged. All right, Tooky, so we saw you at an event for our friend Dennis Hurley, and you did an awesome set there, blew us away. And I remember me and Wayne sitting next to her, we were like, we got to see if Tooky will come on the podcast. She's so good. And I wanted, because I needed to ask, like, what got you into doing open mics? Where was your first one? You know, what was the path?
Well, comedy it kind of started out of spite a little bit. Because I have so many friends who are always like, oh, you're so funny, you're so funny. And I take myself very seriously. So to prove a point, I was like, let me do an open mic at something, or just try this comedy thing. And it went well, and I got laughs, and I was like, damn, I screwed up. Kept going since then, yeah. That's sort of the condensed history of it all.
How long ago was that?
Did my first ever open mic in like 2014 at Sally O'Brien's, and then took a long break and then sort of re-emerged around 2017.
Nice, yeah, you've been at it a while.
Yeah. Too long at this point.
It's a quick emergence that you had from 2017, right? Because I was reading your bio, and it seems like in 2018 and 2019 you started getting some really big opportunities while you were doing stand-up.
Yeah, which surprised me, because, I mean, again, like, I was barely around 2014, and just, the 2015, I want to say, like, I started to really pick up with the mics, and then 2016, I was like, I needed a break. I think that was quite a year for everybody, for a lot of reasons.
But,
yeah.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
We were in a weird state as a country.
Weird times, yeah. But 2017 was when I fully committed at that point. And by 2018, I was like, wow, people are paying attention. That's cool.
Yeah, well, they sure goddamn were. Go ahead, Wayne.
I was going to say, I don't know, are you familiar with Jacques Lambert? Have you ever met him?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think we're like online friends at this point. I don't think I've had a chance to get on his platform yet. Yeah,
so I was chatting with him today, as I do on most days, and I mentioned that you were coming on tonight. And he had this really nice story about going to see you at Nick's Comedy Stop.
Oh, good Lord.
He said it was one of those nights where things just weren't lining up. The host wasn't really doing great. The opener wasn't doing great. The middle guy didn't do good. He got into an altercation with somebody in the audience. Yeah. And he said, you were such a professional. You got on stage. None of that bothered you. Excuse me. And he just took the room back. And he gave you all your flowers at a nice long text chain there. That's the difference between somebody like you and somebody like... I was like, we could go up. Like, I had to go on stage after Anthony one time. And he made a joke that people didn't like. And I went up, and it went all right for me. It wasn't anything I did, though. It was just they were very forgiving people. I can imagine somebody such as yourself has the skill set to do that on purpose.
That takes time, though. That takes time and a lot of observation. Also, like, shout out to Jack, if you're listening at any point.
He listens to every single one.
Yeah.
He's our number one fan, our cheerleader.
Very kind of him to say that. Hopefully. Yeah, because that night was an ordeal.
Oh, you know what he's talking about.
Oh, I do. I blocked it out of my memory, but then somebody was like, hey, remember that night when blah, blah, blah? And I was like, damn, I wanted to forget that. But yeah, no, being able to handle something like that takes a lot of time and a lot of observation and a lot of failure on your own part, right? But sometimes it's also a matter of, do you choose to acknowledge the weirdness or do you just move through?
That's the question, yeah, for sure. Because there's been a couple times, Steve Bjork was the first time I've ever seen it, where I was doing a thing with Steve, and the first 6 people ate complete bowls of shit.
Good Lord.
And it was just a nightmare. And Steve, I was going to go like right after him, and he went up, and I was like, man, sucks for him. I really love Steve, and he's about to eat shit like everybody else. And then I saw him like go into a particular part of his notebook. He was like, for this crowd. And he went up and murdered. It was the craziest that he brought the energy up and he killed. And it was a really big lesson. And, there is a particular way to attack particular crowds.
Yes.
Where I think, especially the first year in comedy where we were in, is we're kind of at mercy to the crowd energy itself. Like, let's say the host sucks at the show we're at. We're going to suck because he's going to not get the crowd up and we're not going to be able to ride the wave. I think that getting better comedy is being able to overcome that.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough too, because like the host is essentially who sets the tone for the show.
Yep.
They're the true bullet in that case. But if the audience isn't really feeling the host, that's sort of to your advantage. You have to kind of look at it that way, because you're kind of supposed to hate the host, right? You're supposed to like the host a little less than everybody else.
Yeah.
So, take that as an opportunity to come in with a different kind of energy than the host and maybe other comics on the lineup are coming with. And so whenever I'm in that kind of position, I definitely think about like, okay, what kind of energy is the crowd giving the host? And I assess what kind of energy the crowd gives the bullet, because that is really like those two, host and bullet, toughest jobs. And I make the choice of like, do I match that audience's energy? Are they going to respond to a higher energy set, or do I just kind of play mellow along with them and meet them where they're at? And I've noticed whenever it's the case that I match a certain kind of audience's energy that has already been hostile to other comics, it works better.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's good advice, because I'm trying to... I thought about a lot when I eat shit myself, why that happened. And sometimes I feel like it's the audience has low energy and I then have super low energy. And I can't like pitch the thing. And I feel like if I can pitch it better, I would gain them back. But I see what you mean of trying to like, target where they're at and fight them in that regard.
Yeah. And then just like pick out the one person in the crowd who's having the most fun and just talk to them.
It's kind of what Alana Foden said. Do you know Alana? By chance?
Oh yeah.
So we had her on probably a month or two ago at this point, but she had mentioned we were talking about when you have like half the crowd that's really not having it, half the crowd is, because I turn my back on the half that's not liking it. I'm going to pay attention to the people that are they're who's enjoying it, so I'm all for them. Exactly. I think that's kind of hard for some comics because, like I said to her, we're all attention seeking. Really, I mean, why else do you step on a stage? You are seeking attention in some form or another. So it is kind of hard mindset to go from, hey, these people love me, away from like, oh, why don't they love me?
I focus on the guys not. Like if 100 people there and 99 of them like it, one isn't, I'm like, why don't you love me? I can't get past it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing. You're gonna say I'm absolutely nuts, which I am, because I'm a little out there in that I definitely make direct eye contact with audience members, which is not advised most of the time. But I go in with the mindset of like, I'm actually not. It's not about attention. It's not about me. It's about us, right? Because I think of a set as a conversation, but the contract there is that the response isn't dialogue. It's laughter, right? And so I'm just telling people my perspective and my story. And I'm going to talk to those who are receiving it. And so when I go in with the mindset of like, I just want to talk to whoever's receiving it. I don't need the attention of people who are not with it. Because someone's dad is always just in the front row in the corner, arms folded, trying not to laugh at anybody, right? Really trying hard not to laugh. And I'm like, why'd you even come?
It's true.
I'm not here
There's
for
a lot of that.
Yeah, like
That's my father. That's when I'm on
I'm so
stage.
sorry. I'm so
My
sorry.
dad's very supportive.
But yeah,
His dad goes to a lot of shows. He just crosses his arms and goes, "Why did I produce that out of my body?" Every time he sees him.
no, my parents don't know I do stand up, and that has given me
Really?
a lot of peace.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nice.
How is that
It's-
possible?
They're not on social media, which is a huge help. They're very unsavvy when it comes to technology. So that is just I've been able to live a lie, essentially. It's been great.
I like that.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer this if you don't want to. But I'm just curious, is there a reason you don't tell them? Are they like anti-comedy people? Or is it like the Willy Wonka thing? Like you should not have any laughs? If you do, the house won't be here anymore?
It's not even that. No, it's not that. It's not. It's mainly I'm an only child, and I want to do something for me for once.
Yeah.
They're very involved, and I really like having a degree of autonomy in life, and this is I started stand up for me. Like this is something that I'm doing on my own terms without anybody's input. So
I completely relate to that because that was
Yeah.
me and Wayne are the opposite ends of the coin on this. Like when he started, he was sending his first sets to his family.
Oh,
and all this.
God.
He was like, look at this shit and all this. I told everybody who asked me that I knew if they found out that I was doing it, I'd be like, in 8 months, I will let you maybe see one thing, but that's
Yeah.
I got to go into the kitchen for a little while to figure this shit out.
yeah. I don't tell anybody about my shows at this point.
Are you ever going to tell them?
Nah, I don't plan on it.
No.
No.
Because you've done some like you've worked with some incredible.
Yeah, like the Wilbur.
No, they had no clue. It was 2 days. It was literally 2 days after my birthday the first time I did it.
Wow.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I was like, yeah, no, I don't have any plans.
No, I get it. Like you got to have your own thing. You can't.
Yeah.
Everybody can't. Like my wife's uncle. He's like 84 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I love him. His name. I named my kid after him. His name's Uncle Bill. He's the greatest
Aw.
guy in the world. Shout out Uncle Bill. He can't use computers, so he will never.
I
hear
have
this,
an
but-
Uncle Bill who is part of my inspiration.
Come on.
Yeah.
Look at that. Kindred
Yeah.
spirits here. Wayne, get the fuck out of here. All right, no, sorry. And we were. And he was talking. He's like, I really want to come to the show. I was like, listen, Uncle Billy, you will literally die if you come to the show. I will not be in charge of killing you in front of the whole family.
No.
His heart would explode. He's too tender.
I'm sorry. I'm still baffled. That's like a huge secret. Are you
Yeah.
ever get nervous when like friends or anybody that knows or around your
They-
family that they'll slip up?
I have established omerta among any of my friends and family who are like on Facebook or wherever. It's a code of silence. I told them from day one, shut the fuck up about me on stage. And as far as my family knows, I'm doing improv and sketch and like acting, but not stand up.
So when you were starting to get booked on shows, was it something that people were reaching out to you for, or do you also take like a more laid back approach on that, or do you go after it?
I go where I'm invited. That is
I know
always
what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always been my policy. If you want me in your rooms, I will gladly show up. If you don't know I exist, that's okay too. If I'm not on your radar, you don't want me there, that's okay too. I think a lot of people drive themselves nuts going after rooms, and being upset that they're not booked at XYZ place. Like they're not, whatever that place is, they're not the only room in town. You're only limiting yourself by focusing on, I have to get on that stage. I have to, get on every stage and let your work speak for itself. That's the approach I've taken. And because my work has spoken for itself, that's how I've been able to get on other stages.
Yeah, that's insane. So can you give us a little insight about how the Wilbur happened? Because that's I know it's multiple times you've done it, right? But how did that first come up? Was it who? I don't even know who books that, obviously. But how'd that happen?
I'm fortunate enough to be friends and buds with people who happen to know. The first time I did the Wilbur was with Maria Bamford. So a couple friends of mine she like whenever she tours, she specifically seeks out local female comics. And so
So cool.
yeah, it's so cool. And so they're like I consider myself very fortunate to be colleagues and friends with some people who've worked with her before. And I truly did not know how or who sent her to me. But my name somehow got passed along, and she emailed me. And at first I was like, is this a scam?
Yeah, I know. Get the
I was
fuck
like,
outta here.
what? But it was her. And it was the opportunity of, I literally could have died that night after my set and been happy.
I was about to say, my follow-up question is, how are you still doing in comedy? Because that would have been the end of it
I
for me.
know,
Like, how could I
know.
ever do anything again?
Well, because that's
Like,
the
how
thing.
could I do a dive bar in Jamaica Plain after this?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I'm remembering who I'm doing it for, and that's for me. Like, I got into it for me, and because I love the craft, I respect the craft, and it has been a really just useful, productive, and I don't know, just like the most important outlet I've found thus far to express myself, especially because in any other case, out on the street, I don't have a microphone. People don't really give a shit what people who look like me have to say, oftentimes. So this is my chance to actually like share who I am, connect with people, and just remembering that that's what that's for, and remembering how much I enjoy writing. That's what's kept me going.
Does seem kind of cliche to say when people say like, "Oh, it's like therapy," but
It is not therapy.
really kind of.
Oh no,
It's not for you, not there for me.
No.
I hear it all the time, and I'm like, man, it's such a cliche thing. But for me, it is because I don't. The things I talk about, I don't talk about anywhere else. So I don't know. It feels like the only outlet that I have for it. But for you, what's your counterpoint?
It's definitely catharsis. It can be cathartic. Like, you can definitely get a release out of it because it's like, oh, finally I can talk about this thing. But the way it differs in therapy is that you really have to be in a place where you can objectively look at the events of your life and share them. Because audiences, the metaphor that I use for people is inside the house versus outside the house. Like when something big or traumatic or emotional, whatever happens to you, you are inside the house. You are living within those emotions. And the audience is sitting outside of the house looking in. So it's your job as a comic to step outside of the house, sit with the audience, and point through the windows at what's happening. Like, over here is the couch, over here is the lamp, over here is the TV, and this is why it's funny. That's why it's not funny. This is why it's important, right? Like, you're able to actually step outside of the emotions enough to develop insights on the events. Because when it's all emotion, we're just too busy feeling you rather than like we're too busy feeling those emotions with you rather than understanding why you're reacting this way and why what happened to you is funny or fucked up or whatever the case. So it's really important to have. I know the old saying, tragedy plus time is comedy, but it's true because the more time you give yourself to analyze the situation, the better you can make jokes out of it.
And would you say for like therapy, you're more staying inside the house and the therapist is coming inside the house with you, so you're not like actually going outside to try to...
Yeah.
You're more keeping... All right, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But, so when you started in like, when you got back in the 2017-18 range and things started really picking up for you, where did your material, were you like joke writing at that point, or was everything personal that you were talking about? Like, did the material change and you got better response from it? Like, where did you line up that wise?
The material was consistent in that it all related back to me. That was some of the best advice I've gotten early on, which is like, the audience is there to hear you, essentially, and you always have to ask yourself, no matter what you're talking about, the main question to ask yourself is, where am I in the story? Because the audience wants to hear that sort of moment and relate to you in whatever you're talking about. They're there to hear your opinions, your experiences. you know, because with all due respect, yeah, I guess we all wonder what the deal is with Pop-Tarts. But, like, tell me about being a billionaire, right?
Yeah. No, well, the audience spoke on that fucking one. I don't think anybody watched that movie. Did you see it? Did you see the Pop-Tart movie?
Nah.
No, I hadn't seen it yet. Did you see that, Wayne?
I didn't.
Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld. He has a joke about Pop-Tarts, obviously, and he made a movie about the creation of Pop-Tarts, and everybody was like, "Jerry, shut the fuck up." And I wonder if it's perfect to what you said, because when he did a show about himself, which was a 30-year-old comedian banging all the women every week in his life, which was really what Seinfeld's about.
Yeah,
it was a great show because it was honest. It was a piece of him. Pop-Tarts, I don't. I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm not diving that deep into it.
Some people like that sort of detached humor, and but the writing has to be so tight. Like, the writing has to be so good. Otherwise, we're just hearing sort of, hey, this is a thing, rather than here's why this thing is funny and here's why I think it's funny and why you should think it's funny, because I know why it's funny, so you'll know why it's funny too.
That's the, like, my writing comes down to usually two places. I'm either having, like, deeply personal jokes that I tie into my family or myself, or I just have jokes. And I really like doing the jokes, but I notice those are the ones that I have my best writing in, because it's really the only ways that they work. They'll have, like, my jokes are, like, pun-based a lot of the time, and they're just, I usually do them first. Like, I'll do, like, my first 4 jokes in a set will just be jokes, because I want to get people used to the idea of, like, all right, we're just kidding around here, we're getting silly. And then for, like, the second half of my sets, I'll get personal. You know, this is they'll still have the funny, the silly things in between them, but they're about me now. They're not, like, about the abstract.
Yeah.
But yeah. So when you get an idea from a joke, is it like, for me, for instance, it has to come out of nowhere. I was a musician. It was the same idea. If I was going to write a song, I couldn't sit down and write a song. You have to, like, get a jingle in your head randomly while you're driving and write down the chords you think it is and then write it later. Comedy for me works the same way. How do you work for joke writing?
Oh, man. Are we the same person? My dad is a retired jazz musician, a jazz percussionist.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's why you didn't tell him about comedy. He's like, what?
Yeah, it doesn't help. It doesn't, like, if you could just picture a Jewish guy from Philly who loves to bang on xylophones and married a woman, my mom, because she looked like Sade back in the day. Like, that's that's who raised me. But yeah, like, in a way, I kind of think of my jokes as a song, in a sense. It's almost like I'm just singing to the audience, right? So that's sort of how they develop, really. It's very much about...
it's rhythm based.
It's a rhythm, because delivery depends on rhythm, depending on your sort of delivery style. If you're more conversational, a lot of times a conversation starts to develop a rhythm.
Yep.
And and it's easier to get audiences to flow along with you when you develop your own sort of personal rhythm when delivering your material. And, oh gosh, what else? I'm blanking. I almost lost my train of thought there. Oh, give me a second. The wheels are turning. But yeah, I never force any of the funny in my material. Like, if it works, it works. And that's great. But I never try and, like, squeeze and wring a joke out of somewhere, and that's why I just allow them to come to me like a song would come to you. But my personal key is that I have to write what I care about, and that changes how it's received, because audiences can tell whether or not you care about what it is that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. That was actually some advice I gave to a guy that just started comedy 3 weeks ago.
Oh wow!
He was talking about jokes. I saw his first set, and I was like, "Listen, like, great job. You got up there, you did it. Like, but you try to do something that means something to you, because if you're just up there spewing words, like you said, audiences are not gonna.
No.
They're not gonna get grab onto it. You know. They need to know that it's something that comes from within you. You know.
Yeah, and when you talk about stuff that you care about, it helps you, like, because a lot of comics, they get so sick of their material. And of course, with the gift and curse of TikTok is that you can put yourself out there, but God, it's so much crowd work, so much shitty crowd work. And then people coming in think, oh, that's the key. And they pressure themselves to like try and have a new set every show or a new set every week. And it's like, no, your faves delivered that joke so well because they repeated it like 10,000 times. But they repeated it because they cared about it and they could modify the delivery with each performance because it's fresh for them, because it's just like you're telling a whole new batch of people the thing that you care about the most in that moment.
Yeah, that's the biggest. So I have a place, and right now, me and Wayne are just starting to get into book shows and stuff like that. I'm hosting a shit ton of stuff, which I really, yeah, but I felt viscerally what you talked about earlier, where you're like, yeah, people just don't like you as much as the host. I'm like, yeah, it's like your jokes are 20%. Like, my jokes hit 20% less no matter what when I'm a host. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'll do a guest spot the day before, and I'm like, that was the best I've ever done. And then I'll host in a similar spot, and everybody's like, fuck this guy. So, yeah, I'm trying to work through that. It's a completely different game on it. But
you have to, it's a thankless job. You have to reach what I call a state of fucklessness.
You mean give a fucklessness? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like, no fucks. Fucklessness. Yeah. Like, you got to go in and know that you are doing the job. You are there to facilitate the show, keep it moving. You're coming in, you do the material, set the tone for the audience, squeeze a few laughs out of them, check in. But yeah, it's a very thankless job, and you can't put too much ego into it. I think the downfall of a lot of people, a lot of comics, is putting too much ego into things, and that's why you get people who are bitter about not getting bookings when it's like, no, you could just be working on your craft. Or they get mad at the audience after a set, and it's like, no. I mean, sure, they might have been unresponsive, but like, how can you do better the next time that you perform?
That's true.
Yeah.
So in between these shows that, because I usually try to bring the stuff I've worked on really hard to these shows, I go to, there's a couple open mics that are staples for me that, like in Biddeford, Maine, there's one at the Comedy Mill called Mulligan's. I like to shout them out every episode because they get a real crowd every week. They're fantastic. If you're ever up there, I will definitely connect you with the boys. They're fantastic. But anyways, I've gone up there and I've done, I've got 15 minutes that I think are pretty solid. I've got about 10 minutes after that I'm like, we're going to get into the weeds and talk about some weird shit. So I've been there 10 times in a row, and I find myself going, they've heard this, I don't want to say it. Instead of me really thinking, what is a fresh angle I can work on for this? And I know that's the key, but it's like everything else. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to be like, I'm doing this joke again. You guys have got to hear it.
Yeah, but if you can deliver it differently, or if you have a new sort of, if you have the same punchline but new premise leading up to that, like, or even just tweaking that punch, like, rearranging certain words, how, like, delivering the joke backwards, right? If it didn't work last time, flip the order of what you were saying, right? Even if it's the same material. Make it fresh for yourself, because if you believe in that joke, you will work on it.
Yeah, I've been trying to as well. Since the beginning, Wayne will always see this in my rotation. I try to, I'll work into a good rotation where I know what my closing bit is, and then I'll just start opening with it. And I'll go, all right, that's now the opening bit. And I got to do my shittier stuff afterwards because I got to make it better so that I'm like, hey, this is all I don't want to start off with my best joke and everybody thinks I stink afterwards. So I like that kind of pressure. That's a good one to get into stuff. It's just, when you get 5 minutes at an open mic, you're like, man, that's like, how do I freshen up these 2 bits in 5 minutes?
Yeah.
But man, that's the craft, right?
Yeah. That's the nature of a craft.
Are you going to a lot of open mics these days, or are you doing mostly book shows?
Sadly, I haven't had the time because my schedule just, and it's not, I'm not like showing off or flexing. Like, it is hard. It's really hard when you get to a certain point. Like, the marker that people look at is like when your bookings outnumber your open mics. But at the same time, you have to be mindful of like, hey, are you still writing? Are you still, sneaking in some new bits? And because I have good old fibromyalgia, I have to pace myself, right? So I can't be like most other comics who are up every night. I have to take my health into consideration. So I don't want to overtire myself, because then I won't be able to deliver product if I'm in a collapsed state because I ran myself into the ground doing mics, and on top of booked shows. So for the moment, I've prioritized booked shows, but nobody is ever above an open mic. No comic is ever above it.
So there's a second half to that question, which is Anthony and I have talked about this, where, like you said, we have a lot of things coming up in the next month or so. We have seven or eight book shows that we're
That's
doing,
awesome.
which obviously, like you said, takes away from your chances to go to an open mic, especially when you have kids and a family, and you can't disappear for multiple nights a week. But we were talking about, like, at some point you have to start writing on stage in front of real people. It's one thing to go to an open mic and just blurt out all this random shit and say, all right, I think there's something there, I'll come back next week with something, a little more to it. So how do you facilitate that end of it, going, writing in front of a real crowd? Obviously you're probably putting a lot more work into your bits before you bring it to a real crowd, instead of your half-ass version of it in front of the comics sitting at a bar.
See, I can write for like 2 years on a bit, and still the first time I say it in front of real people will sound like mush garbage. Like, I can't. I need the feedback. Again, it's like the song thing. I need them to sing it with me to get the rhythm down on it.
Yeah, I mean, well, my writing process is definitely a very solo thing. I have to be in a space by myself to just feel through the material in my mind, and then put pen to paper. But then writing for an audience, it's all about raising the topic first, and then really treating it like a two-way conversation rather than a one-way where the response is laughter. Like, if I hate to crowd work, I do. I really hate to crowd work, but it's crowd work adjacent where I'm like, oh, such and such thing happened. And I get a response from that, and I give a little opinion. Somebody might say something back, and then I'm able to sort of gauge what I can do with that particular response. Yeah. So that's sort of the writing process.
Speaking of the crowd work thing, I saw a video you had, and I wouldn't say it was crowd work, but I don't know, were you trying to get somebody to, like, catcall or something?
No.
What exactly?
Was it?
I was having a hard time trying to understand what was going on there, but just
God.
the interaction you were having with this person, like, was she saying, like, yo-yo or something like that? Or
This was at Laugh Boston, right?
I think so, yeah, the stage looked like that, yeah.
So I was doing a bit. I was doing this one particular bit, and this one woman in the audience who definitely had way too much schnapps decided to sing along, if you will, to that particular moment. So I was like, okay, like, she'd been kind of chatty throughout the entire night, and I'd just been doing my best to, like, suppress it, because she really wanted attention. Some people you don't give them the attention, don't give them the satisfaction, and other people are too. She falls into the category of people who are a little too drunk to realize what a distraction they are. So sometimes you got to just, I'm a light tapper when it comes to acknowledging that kind of foolery. But she was really enthusiastic about my material and just having a good time. So I was like, okay, we're just vibing. And then at that particular point, she really was like wanted to go along with it. And so I was like, okay, this is the opportunity to get the audience even more on my side in this moment, because she's annoying the hell out of everybody. So I was like, okay, if you're gonna do this, you got to say it with your chest. You got to, like, actually really, do the actual dog woof call, or whatever that's called, the Arsenio Hall woof.
So we're getting towards, I guess, the end of this thing, right, Wayne? What else we got? We got any questions you wanna pop forward to? You got some staples.
Well, so one of the things that I was going to ask you, we kind of brought up, you got to work with Maria Bamford, you worked with Eugene Merman, Gary Goldman, like, the list goes on.
Yeah, and Dave Attell last year too. My God, I
saw that picture. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? That's
so
the
cool.
mecca.
He and Louis Katz are, like, the coolest. They're,
that's awesome.
Yeah, all of the people, I feel very, very fortunate because all the people who I've worked with are just as cool in real life as you'd imagine. Like, Maria Bamford is just the sweetest person ever. Like,
Oh my god, yeah. One of the most unique comedians in the world, really.
Oh, yeah, her ability, like the voices she can do, just like her, she's so like odd and awkward. I love it, and she was great in it was the 4th and 5th season of Arrested Development. I don't think she was in the 3rd, but playing, she was like Tobias's drug addict girlfriend or whatever. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
I saw her in a documentary. Like, it's actually one of my favorite stand-up documentaries we've never talked about is the Patton Oswalt one that she's in. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah. I know of it. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, Brian Posehn, it's her and Patton Oswalt, and then the guy from The Hangover, Zach Galifianakis, which is, it's a crazy ensemble because they're literally in a van touring doing comedy at little tiny places. And it's like when they're first getting started, and it's really that's the type of nostalgia why I do stand up, is because I used to watch those old things like, oh man, again, the musician thing where you yearn for the going to a place you've never been before and entertaining people just talking. It's a crazy. So yeah, watch that goddamn documentary, folks.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, I gotta get on that.
Yeah, do you have a favorite? Anything documentary wise stand up that got you excited? Anything that you watched? The Road, anything like that?
No, I don't watch stand up documentaries, but I know that one is on my list. The other documentaries are just topics I want to learn about. That's what I focus on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Seinfeld's got a great one that is a little more centric towards. He did his same material for like 20 years, and then Seinfeld ended, and he dropped his hour that he had, and he never wrote before. And it's all about since he did his hour, so it's all about him writing again. So I think that's a really good one if you're looking for something like that has substance to learn from. And then I Am Road Comic. If you ever start doing the road and you want to see what you're in for, that's a great one too.
That is the next step at this point.
I'd say so.
As much as I dread it.
I watched one probably a month ago or so. It was on YouTube. I think it was just called Open Mic, but it was about the open mic scene in Germany. It was really weird. They have English-speaking comedy clubs and open mics there. And I guess it has like quite the cool little scene, but it's kind of interesting to see the scene over there versus where we are here.
I don't know if
they do in China.
Yeah, I know that. I have a friend who did some shows in China in English.
Yeah, they have English shows in China, so it's crazy.
Yeah.
I saw Tom Segura do one there when he was just started. I get another goddamn documentary where they it was on like Amazon. They brought early Tom Segura, and everybody else didn't make it anywhere, but he was on it. And they go over to China to comedy clubs, and they just eat shit. It's so funny.
Good Lord. No, Germany is I'm terrified. I don't think I have what German audiences are looking for. I literally today on Twitter saw a video of like Germany's Got Talent, where a woman, maybe I shouldn't say this on the podcast.
Oh, bring it on. No, you can say it.
Like a woman.
Anything happens here.
A woman talent was she pulled out a chain of sausages, some linked sausages from her pocket, and then went into a corner, emerged ass first with a puppy drawn on her cheeks, and then made it look like the dog ass was eating the sausages. And the audience ate it up, and I'm like, I don't think.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I saw a video of a girl in America swallow a whole stick of butter whole.
I mean, that's the most American shit I've heard.
Yeah, I don't know which is weirder.
No, I'm down for anything where I'm like I'm in for talent, meaning you can be weird about your talent.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm interested in. I'm like, all right, but how many links went in the ass? Like if she's like 12, I don't care. Like I'm out of the sexual I've gone through the veil of sexuality and now I'm into intrigue, and I want to know. She's on America. Well, German's Got Talent. Come on.
There was absolutely no sex. It was not it was not sexual in the least. And I think it was like 5 links, 5 little sausage. And I'm like, you know what?
I would love to see the judge like,
There's a judge on there who legit looks like German Gordon Ramsay, and he was living. He was living.
yeah, I mean, it is like, I think about that in the same way when I have to follow any music. Anytime someone does, and this is just like sticking chains of links of sausage in your ass, in the sense of it's more like, how do I follow that with talking? Where imagine you're doing German's Got Talent and you're next and you're like, all right, I got to tell a joke after 5 sausages. Like I said, that's why I respect it.
Yeah.
It's the most entertaining thing.
Yeah.
Good luck.
But, in that situation, too, it's a matter of, like, what kind of energy was that musician bringing prior?
Yeah.
And also, like, if that's an audience that didn't initially come there for comedy, you better make sure your jokes are good.
True.
You better hook them right away.
Me and Wayne went to an open mic that was a music open mic, but they said like, "Oh, we'll allow comedy this week," and we're like, "Let's do it."
We
they didn't. I don't think we were the first and last comics they let there, but we went on Halloween, and I remember it's gonna be probably my favorite comedy memory of all time because I started my set, and in front of me was a whole table of the Brandon Lee the Crows. Like a fucking 10 of them in a row. They were all had the crow makeup on.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I was like, this is difficult.
That's beautiful. Oh man.
It was wild because we showed up and all the musicians had signed their name, but they started at number 3 for some reason. It was almost like it was too good to be true. We walked in and I was like, they got 1 and 2 open. Let's do it. And
come on.
Yeah. And that wasn't the worst night we've had. I mean, that was all right.
No. The guy rapped before we went up to host. He was like, all right, I'm the host. And then he rapped a song, and then he brought us up. I was like, this is great.
Yeah, Pipe Dreams.
Like, it was
Pipe Dreams.
Pipe Dreams. That was his name.
Yeah.
Him and that German, both of them called Pipe Dreams.
I mean, okay, but have you ever had a grown man rap at you in close proximity?
No.
Pipe Dreams. He did. He rapped right in our face. What are you talking about?
I mean, we were in a little side room watching through the bars.
Shout
it
out
was
to Pipe
so
Dreams.
close to me. He went he saw through me.
My God.
I feel like you have. That's why you asked that.
Yes, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's true. Rap is a different thing than rap. Because regular music, you just close your eyes. It doesn't even matter. But rap, you're delivering a line. You got to look at people when you do it. Yeah, what's more awkward, making eye contact during stand-up or making eye contact while you're rapping?
Rapping.
Gotta be rapping for sure, right?
Yeah.
Damn, Wayne,
Absolutely.
can you book a rapper on the next podcast so we can get to the bottom of this?
I'm gonna book Pipe Dreams.
Oh, man, yeah, Pipe Dreams would be great. I would ask him, like, did he cross-check that with porn stars before he decided that was going to be his stage name? Shit, all right, Tooky. So let the people know, all 50 of them, where you're going to be and where they can find you.
Oh, okay. All my social handles at Tooky Monster, like Cookie Monster, right?
Come on,
Yeah.
so good.
So I'm constantly, reposting whatever shows I'm doing there. So come say hi, but don't be weird about it.
And don't say hi if your parents are around.
Yeah, don't do that. My calendar gets updated like every couple weeks or so. TookyKavanagh.com for that. Don't spell Kavanagh with a U, please.
Don't spell her name wrong. I love that, by the way. Yeah, my last name's Eugenio, and I already decided, we've said it a couple times, that if I have a comedy special, the first one on call is going to be called Stop Saying My Fucking Name Wrong. That's going to be the name of the special, and I love that your website, one of the first thing it says is, do not say it wrong. This is how you say it. I can tell you didn't even open your mouth. You said it like this.
I was grinning the entire time. But yeah, my schedule is usually updated every couple weeks on the website. I'm just being a terror on Al Gore's internet. So find me on there. Really ridiculously easy to find online. And shows will always, don't feel bad about missing a show. There'll always be another.
There'll be another.
There'll
And
be
remember,
another.
everybody, global warming is fake, according to Al Gore. And this has been a worthy step in the quest for laughs. Have a great night, everybody.
if you could just picture a Jewish guy from Philly who loves to bang on xylophones and married a woman, my mom, because she looked like Sade back in the day.